Yo, what up? It's your boy, Mr. E, and today we're going to learn about adding and subtracting decimals. Before we dive too deep into the video, one thing I wanted to acknowledge is that at the time of this recording, it is the election. And this election has been like no other election in how long it's taken for us to find the results of this election. Something that I've really enjoyed, however, is how the meme community has teamed up together to pick on poor Nevada for how slowly they're counting their votes. So, what I thought we would do is every so often, we'll check in on Nevada and see how they're doing with counting the votes. Let's get a sneak peek. Oh, okay, it improved by 1%. That's pretty good. Keep up the good counting, Nevada. Let's check back in on you a little bit later. Let's go ahead and dive into the video. So let's say that we had two numbers that we wanted to add together, 5 and 21 hundredths and 3 and 539 thousandths. So step one would be to stack the numbers on top of each other with the decimals lined up. Typically, the top number has a greater value. You don't have to put the greater value on top. That's just usually what we would do. But something that is really important is that we're stacking the decimals on top of each other. Moving on to the next step is if there are any blank spaces, fill them with a 0. Remember, a 0 does not add or take away any value when you add it to the right of a decimal. So we're taking this straight from comparing and ordering decimals. If you add that 0 to the right, it's just going to help us add or subtract a little bit more easily. And when we do that, it does not add or take away any value. Step 3 is drop that decimal immediately. This is a step that Mr. E will constantly make mistakes on, so try not to roast me too hard in the comments about that. But I like to have the decimal down there already so I don't get confused about my place value and I'm not going to get an incorrect answer at the end. Step 4 is add or subtract like normal. Regrouping and carrying rules apply the same way as if you were using whole numbers. So really we're going to approach this like we would add or subtract whole numbers because we've already dropped the decimal. So we'd start off by doing 0 plus 9. That would get us 9. 1 plus 3 would get us 4. 2 plus 5 would get us 7. And 5 plus 3 would get us 8. So we got an answer of 8 and 749 thousandths. Now, we're not done yet. I always want to make sure that we got a good answer, so we're going to check with inverse operations. So the inverse operation of this would be subtraction. So we take the answer that we got, subtract the number that we added, and then we should get that top number that we had, which we will. We got 5 and 210 thousandths. So checking with inverse operations is always a great way to ensure that you got a good answer. So I always recommend doing it, even though it might take a little extra time. Speaking of extra time, let's go ahead and check on Nevada and see how they're doing with their counting. Oh, they're still at this percentage. That's awkward. All right, well, keep counting, Nevada. Hopefully we'll get some results soon. All right, let's go ahead and practice a couple problems together. All right, let's start with this first subtraction problem. 5 and 938 thousandths minus 2 and 4 tenths. So first thing we would do is we'd stack them on top of each other. Since this is a subtraction problem, we're definitely not going to put the number with the greater value on top. We're just going to put it in the order that we've been given. Making sure that we line up the decimals. Now we're going to put any zeros in for blank spaces, remembering that that does not add or take away any value. And we're going to be subtracting this time. So 8 subtract 0 would give us 8. 3 subtract 0 would give us 3. 9 subtract 4 would give us 5. Ooh, and I told you I'd forget this one. We want to drop that decimal earlier. It's okay if you forget it, but it's a good practice to remember it at the beginning. Then we're going to put 5 subtract 2, and that would give us 3 and 538 thousandths. So if we wanted to double check to make sure we got the answer correct, we could just add the number we took away. So we'll add back 2 and 400 thousandths. That would get us 8. That would get us 3, 9. Again, forgot to drop the decimal. Roast me in the comments about this. I need to be better about that. And we got the answer that we started with. So 3 and 538 thousandths is a good answer. Let's move on to the next problem. We've got 1 and 726 thousandths and 9 and 88 hundredths. So I'm going to put the 9 and 88 hundredths on the top. You don't have to do this, but it is a good practice to do that. Now we're going to put the placeholder 0 in, and we're going to be adding. We're going to remember this time to drop the decimal. Now we're going to add like normal. 0 plus 6 would give us 6. 8 plus 2 would give us 10, so we are going to have to carry over. So we'll carry over that 1. 1 plus 8 plus 7, that would get us 16. Again, we're carrying over again. Then 1 plus 9 plus 1 would give us 11, giving us an answer of 11 and 606 thousandths. We're going to double check by using inverse operations. So the opposite of addition would be subtraction. Then we're going to subtract. And honestly, this just gives us more practice with adding and subtracting decimals, which is always a good thing. We'll drop the decimal first. 6 minus 6 would get us 0. 0 minus 2, we would need to come over and borrow. So we'll come over and borrow 1 from here and regroup. 10 minus 2 would give us 8. Looks like we're going to have to regroup one more time, possibly a third time. 15 minus 7 would give us 8. And yeah, we're going to have to regroup one more time. So 10 minus 1 would give us 9. So we got what we started with, so we have a good answer. So 11 and 606 thousandths would be our answer. One last problem. We've got 8 and 100th, subtract 6 and 412 thousandths. We're going to put that 0 in the blank space because that doesn't add or take away any value. Drop the decimal first, and then we're going to subtract. Looks like we're going to have to do a lot of regrouping here. Regrouping can sometimes be a little challenging, but if you go slow, take it one step at a time, it's not too bad. So 10 minus 2 would give us 8. Looks like we're going to have to come all the way over here and borrow from 7. We'll change this into a 9 and change that to a 10. 10 minus 1 would give us 9. 9 minus 4 would give us 5. 7 minus 6 would give us 1. We could add back to check if we got a correct answer. So we'll add 6 and 412 thousandths. That gives us 10. That gives us 11. That gives us 10 once again. And that would give us 8. So we got the number that we started with, so we have a good answer. So 1 and 598 thousandths would be a great answer. Let's go ahead and check on Nevada again. Oh my gosh, it actually went in reverse. This is nuts. We're never going to find the results to this election. Oh well, poor Nevada, keep trying. Well, I hope this video was helpful. I hope that you learned a little bit about adding and subtracting decimals, and I hope that you get a chance to practice more with adding and subtracting decimals so that you can become a pro at adding and subtracting decimals. We love you guys, we miss you, and I'll see you later. Bye.
One eternity later.
Kaylee, the results are finally in.
Who won?
Kanye West,
Who?
the rapper from 2020.
Oh, good for him.
It's finally over.